What is up guys, Coach Josiah here, AnastasiFitness.com. The plan for today's video is we're going to take a deep dive into what macronutrients are and why they are so important when it comes to building muscle, burning fat, and just maintaining good health. Regardless if you're trying to build muscle or lose fat, by the end of the video, you'll have the info you need to structure your diet towards whichever goal you might have. Let's go. All right, so first off, what exactly are macronutrients and why are they important? One thing I will say is I'm going to refer to macronutrients as macros for short. So if you ever hear someone online say macros, they're just talking about macronutrients. So think of macros as nutrients we need in big quantities. This is exactly why they're called macros. I'm sure you've probably heard of the term micronutrients before too, and this is just referring to the vitamins and minerals you get from your macros. As for what the three macros are, they're your proteins, carbs, and fats. All of them play important roles in your body, but before we dive into the specifics, one really important thing to know is the difference between calories and macros. So calories determine how much your weight changes, but macros help determine the type of weight that actually changes, in terms of if that weight is from muscle or if it's from fat. For example, let's say you lose 20 pounds during a diet, but don't really eat that much protein, aka you don't worry about macros, just calories. A lot of that weight you lost most likely came from muscle as opposed to fat. And if you put this into perspective, if you're 30% body fat and lose 20 pounds, but half of that is muscle, you're 20 pounds lighter, but at the same exact level of body fat. There's a lot of things that can go wrong if you don't have a good balance between all three macros, and this was just scratching the surface. The main purpose of this example was just to emphasize how important macros are when it comes to actually changing the composition of your body, not just your weight. Now let's dive into the first macro. Okay, the first macro we're going to dive into is protein. What is it? Why do we need it? And what are the different types? So here's the easiest way to think about protein. It's a molecule that builds and repairs your body. It's made up of amino acids. Amino acids are just molecules that form together to create a complete protein. In terms of what protein does, it keeps everything in your body strong and healthy. And if we didn't have it, our bodies would straight up just fall apart. Now, when it comes to the different kinds of protein, this is really important to know. There are two different types: complete proteins and incomplete ones. Complete proteins have all 9 essential amino acids. Essential just means your body can't create those amino acids on its own. In other words, you have to get those amino acids from food because your body doesn't have the ability to make them without those specific foods. When it comes to incomplete proteins, these are just missing some of the essential amino acids. So in order for your body to actually have the resources to build or even maintain the current muscle you have, your body needs a good enough amount of these complete proteins. All right, now let's take this into a weightlifting context. What happens if we don't eat enough protein? So when you lift weights, you break down your muscles, and the scientific term for this is muscle protein breakdown. Lifting weights itself doesn't actually build muscle, but it does start the muscle building process. This is called muscle protein synthesis. In order for you to actually have the ability to create new muscle tissue on your body, protein synthesis has to happen at a higher rate than protein breakdown. And protein synthesis can only be maximized when you eat a good amount of protein. One thing to note as well is that complete protein sources stimulate protein synthesis at a much higher rate than incomplete ones, so it's really crucial to focus your diet around those complete proteins. Now you can see it's pretty much impossible to build any muscle if you aren't eating enough protein. And this is simply because you aren't actually giving your body the resources it needs to grow new tissue on your body. As for the complete protein sources you can get from your diet, these are any type of meat, eggs, or dairy. As for how much protein to eat, I'm not going to break this down because I have a complete guide on exactly how much you should eat for your specific body, along with how to set up your macros. I'll touch on this more later in the video, but if you want to check it out now, you can download that guide for free in the description. All right, moving into carbs, what are they and why do we need them? So carbs are actually the only macro we don't need for us to survive. This is why the keto diet is a thing, but we aren't going to really dive into that in this video. What we are going to talk about though is why eating enough carbs is really important, especially if you're lifting weights. So the easiest way to think about carbs is they're your body's main energy source. When you eat carbs, it breaks them down into something called glucose. This is the energy source your body uses, and anything left over is stored in your muscles as glycogen. It's the same thing as gasoline is to a car. You fill your body up with carbs and it gives you a fuel source to move, and more importantly, lift some heavy weights at the gym. Okay, so what happens if you don't eat enough carbs? I want you to imagine you're at the gym and you realize you've only eaten protein that day and totally forgot to eat any carbs. There's a chance your body is going to use that protein as its new energy source since you don't have any carbs in your system, meaning your body isn't going to use protein to build or maintain the muscle you have. It's going to use it as energy, which prevents protein from doing what you want it to. The purpose of giving this example is to explain carbs don't necessarily build muscle, but eating enough allows your body to let protein do its job. Another reason why eating enough carbs is optimal is studies have confirmed higher carb diets are shown to be slightly better for performance at the gym. This is because because it's your body's preferred energy source when you do something that requires a lot of immediate energy, aka lifting weights. Since carbs can supply energy much quicker for your body, it's usually best to rely on that source for lifting weights as opposed to a diet it's higher in fat. All right, moving into dietary fat. What does it do and why do we need it? So dietary fat does a lot for you to keep your body functioning, like protecting your organs, keeping your cells healthy, etc. But we're going to focus a little more on what it does with your hormones. I'm sure you've probably heard the word hormones before, but here's the simplest explanation of what they actually do. Hormones send a signal to your body to carry out a task. For example, testosterone sends a signal to your body to build muscle. Or when you don't eat for a long time, there's a hormone called ghrelin that sends a signal to your body that you need food. This is exactly what's happening when you get hungry. The hormone ghrelin is relaying a message to your body that something needs to be done, aka you need to eat some food. So if you aren't producing these hormones at optimal levels, your body essentially can't send itself signals to carry out really important functions that are needed to have a high quality of life. This is where fats come into play. They give your body the resources it needs to create hormones like testosterone and estrogen. And both of these play a big role in building muscle, burning fat, and overall well-being. Another thing to note about dietary fat is it also allows your body to absorb certain vitamins. If you've ever heard the term fat-soluble vitamins, this is where it comes from. Your body essentially can't use vitamin A, D, E, and K if you aren't consuming some sort of dietary fat. So at the end of the day, if you're not eating enough fat, you won't be optimizing your hormones along with creating some vitamin deficiencies, which is just a recipe for disaster. Okay, so what are the different types of fat sources? There's 3 different types: mono and polyunsaturated, along with saturated. And no, saturated fat isn't going to kill you. You actually need it to keep your body healthy. That being said, it is most optimal to have a variety of all 3 of these in your diet. Some quick examples for saturated fat are your full fat dairy products like butter, yogurt, and cheese. Grass-fed beef is also a great source. As for monounsaturated, this is going to be your olive oil, avocados, and almonds. Polyunsaturated is usually the hardest one to get from diet alone because it mostly comes from fatty fish like salmon. I personally don't like fish that much, so I usually just supplement with a fish oil product. I use the fish oil from Legion Athletics, and you can find the link to their website in the description. All right, so how do we apply this to your day-to-day nutrition plan? The first thing you're going to do is download the guide that's in the description of this video. It's all about how to set up your macros. It's completely free and it's going to give you a step-by-step process on how to set them up specifically for your goals. Whether you're trying to build muscle or burn fat, it'll break it down for you. After doing that, download the How to Track Your Calories guide that's also in the description. This will outline how to track your new macros that you just set up. It also has a grocery store list separated by each macro, so you'll have options to choose from for each source. All right, that's it for the video today, guys. I hope you got some solid value from it. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for plenty more videos just like this. And if you need a little more help with your nutrition, this is what I do for a living, so I got you. You can sign up for my online coaching program by clicking the link in the description. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Let's go.